the essence of the family sedan. Hey everyone, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we've got the 2020 Nissan Altima. This is the top-level platinum trim, sporting the 2-liter variable compression turbocharged engine. We'll get into that a little bit later, what that means. But this is Nissan's family sedan. It's going to compete with the Chevy Malibu, the now discontinued Ford Fusion, Toyota Camry, Honda Accord, Volkswagen Passat. Definitely a large segment, one that hasn't seen a bunch of love in the last decade or so, but there are manufacturers like Nissan that are sticking with it and providing excellent products in that category. Well, the styling here is hard not to like. It's a good evolution of previous Altima styling. Got nice chrome design cues, attractive wheels, a little bit of this floating roofline that's been characteristic of many Nissans of late. Back in the trunk here, pretty standard fare. You've got a trunk. Underneath, a little tiny bit of storage, but you got your spare, the compact spare tire underneath there with a few tools. A little bit of you got a net, a little cargo net you can put in under here if you'd like. And a few, there's like some grocery bag holders there, so that's good to see. Fold the seats from the trunk and go back and see what kind of cargo space we get. Nice and easy. You don't have to put the front seats back or forward, which is nice. Pretty standard fare sedan trunk fold here. Put some stuff through there if you need be, but typically these are going to stay up in a position where they provide plenty of good passenger space. We've got plenty of legroom here. I'm 5'10", and the driver's seat is set at 5'10". Plenty of knee room. Headroom's a little bit tight, but I had a passenger back here who was about 6'2", and said he was perfectly comfortable over 8 hours of driving. So no issues there. Seat's got a good amount of squish. Got a center armrest with some squish and some hard cup holders in here. No extra sort of storage other than that. But you do have a USB Type-C and Type-A. It's nice to see Nissan using both A and C, knowing that many more devices in the future will have Type-C connections, but for now, we still use a lot of USB-A. Some nice design elements here too. I mean, you've got this nice stitching along with squishy armrests in the door, stitching all along the seats. The color of this interior is called charcoal. Up front, the niceties continue. You can see kind of a cool fake wood grain look in here. Good leathers. The steering wheel feels nice. Start up the car. Get a little air flowing for me here. Very nice, straightforward gauge cluster. Got manual gauges on both sides with a pretty basic but functional LCD display. Shows you speed, fuel economy, where the variable compression turbo is resting, tire pressures, all sorts of information, speed limits. Very easy to use. Center screen here, you got a nice looking navigation to go home. Got sort of these home areas that you can reconfigure if you'd like, kind of move things around, move widgets. You got weather. You could take this and readjust it if you wanted. You've also got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support. If you want to see more on the infotainment system here, we've got a full review of the Bose audio system here in the Altima. So check the link in the description to head on over to that. And also, if you like what you guys are seeing, please help us out and hit that subscribe button. See what other videos we've got going on. We've also got a highway fuel economy test for this Altima, although it did get a little wonky. So check that test out as well if you want to see how it performs at 70 miles per hour. One thing I do really appreciate about the interior design of the Altima is that they kept a nice, easy to use HVAC control area here. So just big, easy to turn buttons for your temperature. You can synchronize your dual zone climate control fan speed right here. Heated seat controls and heated steering wheel. It's symmetrical, it looks good, it's easy to use, and it's not buried away in the infotainment screen the way many other cars have made it. Down here you've got some piano black plastic, so that's not going to look good after a few years, but everything's pretty functional. No wireless device charging. That'd be nice to see, but you do have USB Type-C, USB-A, and a 3.5mm auxiliary input jack down there. as well as 12 volt. And in here, nothing. Just a pretty shallow center console. Little thing right here with the, it's just kind of a cheap feel. You got this super cheap little carpet thing that goes in there to keep things from rattling around. All right, let's get on the road. You do have driver seat memory, 1 and 2. That's definitely nice. If you have multiple drivers in the house, you can automatically set their seat controls. Let's see, turning radius check, will it make it? I'm not gonna risk curbing these wheels. As I said earlier, this has Nissan's 2-liter turbocharged engine that features a variable compression ratio.
With restricted access.
Also, the car periodically feels like telling you about restricted access roads and other random GPS facts that I really don't need to know. I'm sure you could turn that off somehow. So the variable compression ratio means that the engine can actually change how far the piston goes up in order to optimize for either power or fuel efficiency. That's pretty revolutionary technology in terms of no one else having done it before. In terms of it actually being useful, I think it must be doing something because this car does get really good fuel economy. I averaged over 36 miles per gallon in mostly highway driving with some light city driving as well. And we averaged well over 40 miles per gallon on our 70 mile per hour real world fuel economy test. And it makes a good amount of power as well. You've got 236 horsepower on regular fuel and 248 horsepower on premium, and over 260 and 270 pound-feet of torque, respectively. You can really feel it as you lean into there. Compression ratio goes into power, and the car really pulls away. The downside is the continuously variable transmissions from Nissan are not great. Whether it's this car or other Nissans of past, the smoothness isn't there, the immediacy isn't there, especially compared with CVTs from other manufacturers. So if I'm cruising along here at 55 miles per hour and I lay into it, it takes about a half second for anything to happen. Now there is this S mode button I can press on the shifter. It raises the revs up a little bit. So I'm cruising along at 55 and I hit it. That half second delay is still there. There's nothing that we can do to prevent the transmission from needing to get up to its spot. And there are no paddle shifters. The only other option is L mode, where I can put that down, and then it holds the revs really high. But even when I do that, it's still, there's no immediacy to the engine. It doesn't, I floor it and you feel the torque come on in a minute. So there's not really a way to drive the Altima sporty. The steering doesn't really have a good weight for sporty driving. There's no sort of sport mode other than this S, which doesn't seem to do anything to the steering. So it's kind of weird that it's got all that power, but no real way to exploit it. The ride is really good, as you can see coming over these bumps. Definitely one of the better rides in its class. Nothing remarkable, it's not luxury car smooth, but it's been very smooth for a lot of different kind of driving. Now once the transmission gets up there and the engine starts pulling, it does pull hard. But it's sort of this dance between hitting the gas, waiting for the compression ratio to go up into power mode, and then the turbo to kick in. So there's 3 things all shuffling around, and it can really cause some confusion. Let's do a quick 60 to 0 braking test. Let's get up on the highway here. Get some tire squealage going. The Nissan does have a fairly robust semi-autonomous driving mode and adaptive cruise control. So as you can see here, that beep tells us that the car recognizes both lanes and is driving us. I'm going to take control of the wheel here for a quick sec to get through this odd section, but then once the center line picks up, it should be able to drive us right around this corner. Here we go. Right, yeah, oh, yeah, it's trying. And one of the frustrating parts are that it beeps all the time. So if I pull out of the lane and then let it reset. Maybe. There we go. Beeps. So it's a little frustrating. There have been times where I was driving on the highway with people in the car, and it'd beep to set, and then it would also beep when I turned it off. I'd be going along and it would lose a center line or something like that, and it would beep to let me know it turned off. But then my passengers are going, oh, what was that? And it's like, nothing, it's just the car doing its self-driving thing. So it's a little bit frustrating that it has to beep like that. For normal, just easy around town driving, the CVT is perfectly fine. It's just sort of weird that they've got this higher, more powerful engine option, but yet there's not the sportiness of the rest of the car to make up for it. If you get a 2-liter turbo Accord, the whole car feels sporty, it feels playful, it feels like you can really throw it around. If you get a Mazda 6 with the turbo, it's a strong motor and good steering and a good chassis. It feels like a sports sedan. This feels like a sports sedan in no way other than the horsepower figures. The transmission doesn't act right, the steering doesn't feel right, the chassis doesn't inspire. So it's kind of just like power for the sake of power. And we're seeing that a lot with vehicles such as plug-in hybrid vehicles, like the new RAV4 Prime. Yes, it has a lot of power, but most of your day-to-day driving, that doesn't matter at all. I would much prefer just the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated Altima motor, maybe some all-wheel drive, and slightly better fuel economy numbers, and a little bit more smooth and predictable operating experience. Let's do a little 0 to 60 takeoff here. I'm going to turn traction control off. We have to do that through the center gauge display, VDC settings, system off. Now we go air conditioning off. And we'll do this 2 different ways. We're going to do it first in DS mode. And I'm going to brake, torque, release, and you're going to hear a lot of wheel spin. Now we'll turn around and go the other way, and I'll do it in L mode. Part of me actually prefers launching in L mode because you'll see the revs act like a true continuously variable transmission and just hold at the most powerful point rather than simulating shifts like it's an automatic. See how no matter how fast I go, we're holding that power peak right there? So that's how the CVT really should act, but instead Nissan was like, oh, people like the sound of shifting, right? Well, we'll put in these simulated shifts even when you're at full throttle. Thanks, Nissan. Make the car worse. All in all, the Altima is a very good car. There's nothing wrong with it. It is missing a few features like ventilated seats and wireless device charging, but it has all the meat and potatoes to compete with anything else in this segment. And if this is a car that speaks to you, whether it's the Nissan brand, it's the looks, it's the price, I mean, this one's only $38,000, so really not too bad for everything you're getting. It just doesn't inspire from a driving perspective the way other cars like the Mazda 6 and the Honda Accord are able to. I feel similarly about the Toyota Camry. Even with the V6, plenty of horsepower, but it doesn't feel like a sporty car because the transmission's not doing the right things. And the chassis is maybe a little bit better than this, but still not in any significant way better. So Nissan's got a very passing grade, and if it's a car that interests you, by all means, check it out. You see, taking off from the line there, I was going moderately quick, but there was just so much jerkiness and unsmoothness to the acceleration. It's not very pleasant. One thing that is nice to see in this price point is a 360-degree camera. You put it into reverse and you see the nice rear view right there, as well as an overhead transposed view. Very nice for Nissan to include that, and to include a camera button right here that you can press and then drive around. If you're coming up to a curb, you can see it coming like that. That's pretty neat. Solid choice in the family sedan marketplace, but probably not the best. Take a look at the motor here real quick. There it is, covered up in some plastics. Pretty standard fare. You see the variable compression turbo insignia. It is neat how Nissan was able to hide their autonomous driving features within their badge. I think that's a really clever way of doing it. Anyway, if you guys want to see more on this Nissan Altima, check out our sound system review and the highway fuel economy test. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe, all those good things, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.